Hey, welcome to another episode of the Operation Growth Show, Season 5, Episode 34. Hope everybody's doing well, having a good day, had a good week. And yeah, let's see how's everybody doing. We've got usual suspects, Lefty and GMF. The Shrewsbury City might join, but Mrs. is feeling, I don't know if they've actually had the kid yet or not. I think the kid's still just about to pop. I think they're on tender hooks. So he's probably sitting in the car just in the ready to go position at a moment's notice. But yeah. Hey, no, there is. He's in chat. Hey there, buddy. So Lefty, how you doing? So how things going?
Oh, they're going, man. I had an interesting week, but yeah, just take everything in stride and try and move forward. And yeah, but everything's good, man. Plants are doing good. Um, Getting ready to start taking down stuff out in the greenhouse. That was part of the interesting week. One of my hemp cultivars ended up testing over, so I have to destroy that. It's such a small amount that you're really allowed to have in those hemp plants. I mean, the hemp law is, point 0.30 is what the actual hemp number is supposed to be as far as THC. And there's so many variables that can come into play as far as, your season and your environment on that THC number. And when he came to test that variety just happened to be a really early finishing variety. So it was extremely mature, new soil. So I had a bit of a hot soil, which can also contribute to higher THC numbers. Just a lot of different things. But yeah, I mean, that was part of my week so one of my hemp varieties tested over. So that has to be destroyed. But
no, it'd be interesting to collect the data on, like all the environmental data, the strain, the soil nutrient, levels and things like that, and then all the other ones around it that didn't go hot. You check their local soil conditions, etc., and then start be able to track that kind of information going forward. So you're like, whoa, we've got to be careful here.
Well, I got lucky because those other two cultivars happened to be longer finishers, so they weren't nearly as mature. So they didn't have that THC content in them yet that the other one did, because it was so much further along. You know what I mean? So just things to learn. I mean, that one that tested over was also the one that's been a pain in the ass for the powdery mildew and really heavy, big buds. I've been seeing some mold and bud rot in them. So maybe is this meant to be that I just get rid of that damn strain?
Yeah, maybe the extra stress of the powdery mildew and the bud rot as well lends itself to stress reaction in the plant, putting out that extra bit of THC.
Very well could be.
And Jim, how are you doing, buddy? How are things going?
Oh, excellent. Can't complain, man. Feet above ground, and I get to hang out with y'all. So for me, that's just finished up brunch. It's a hell of a good day in that respect. Can't complain. So Lefty, I got a question though. Like you said, you're planning to destroy it. Are you going to plan to destroy it with some ice water and ice and a bucket and a screen, or how are you planning to destroy it?
Not by law, I can't do that.
Right, you're going to destroy it. That's what I mean. You're going to destroy it. But how are you planning to destroy it?
Burn it.
Okay. You're going to burn it wrapped in paper, or are you going to burn it just in a...
I'm going to burn it in a big burn pit with all my friends with a tent over top of us holding in all the smoke.
That's what I want to know. How are we going to go? Because it's got to be destroyed. It's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, man. No, by law, you either have to burn it or you have to till it into the ground.
All right. Burning in a tent it is then.
Yeah, man.
Or turning it into Malawi cob. I tilled it into the ground in little wrap parcels.
Yeah, technically, that's correct. They're the best kind of correct.
Be like 200 little fucking corn cob wraps in the ground.
It's like you say, I dug graves for each bud. I ask you, what are all these little tiny crosses in your yard? You made me destroy a hemp grid.
But yeah,
Yeah. Cobb service
Same.
for all of you hot hemp.
Yeah. Well, and that
Well-
was tell me if I'm wrong, but that was the old Scythian method of using cannabis that we know of. That was like the first way of using it. They would sit in a tent, usually for funeral rites and stuff. They would sit in a tent, they'd have a hot brazier going in the tent, and then literally just throw the matter on there and burn it in the tent with themselves.
yeah.
So, I mean, your clothes are going to get hot boxed, but why not?
And just build me a teepee for a little while.
With no holes.
It'd be fun.
Raptor.
Sure, you get
How's it going,
creative.
everyone?
Hey, Raptor.
You feel?
Yeah. Hits keep coming, man. The hits keep coming.
No.
So now then, do you have to go and like all the rest of it when you harvest that? Do you have to get all of that tested? No. So it's been flagged
This
now
is a
as being
test.
okay. So it only happens to have to be done once. Okay.
Yeah, it's like really random. I was like, I don't know how many people there are in my region. I'd guess probably 200. I'd have to guess around 150 to 200 hemp farms in my region where I was chosen randomly from to get tested. I was one of 5 basically in my region to get tested. So yeah, no, there really is no follow-up. Like I have to send in a couple forms showing that I had good intentions. You know, I have to show some things from like the breeder or the genetics that I used, showing that it was like supposed to be under limit. But I was below the 1%, so they don't like turn me into the authorities. I mean, like if you like have like crazy numbers, they'll turn any into the authorities for like being like just deliberately negligent in what you're trying to do. So yeah, there's paperwork in the shit, but like I will never have anybody come out here and like watch me dig a hole and bury it. You know, they don't come out and go, oh yeah, there's the ashes, or there's no follow-up. It's just like, yeah, fill out your paperwork and yeah, we'll just take your word for it that you did what the fuck you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
Oh.
really how regulation, you know, at least in this respect, is you're an individual, you're not a corporation. And that's the difference in regulation. You know, you're an
Right.
individual, you're assumed to be a good actor.
In a corporation, you'd have to have somebody who was trained to watch you put it in the hole in the ground and then burn it and then sign off, and probably have to weigh the end product to make sure that it meets what they believe to be, you know, the final thing.
Now, like
Yeah.
when in the beginning of the season, I have to fill out a planning report that either states how many plants that I have, or how many square feet, or how many acres, or you know how much area I actually have planted. I have to write down all the different cultivars that I'm planting, so they know before they even get here like what scale of operation I have. You know, so they know how they're like, oh, this is a little fucking greenhouse. You know, this dude isn't running like, you know, some big huge outfit to where if I was running like say like 500 acres of hemp in it, you know, one of the strains of the 2 came back over, it might be a bigger deal, you know, to try and like eradicate or get rid of, you know, 250 acres of hemp. They might like be like, hey, you know, we're gonna come out and kind of like help you do this or whatnot. But they're like, ah, dude, this dude's got like, yeah, this dude's got like, you know, 25 plants. Fuck it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I don't know.
Hey, Raptor, how's it going?
Pretty good. Sorry to hear about that, Lefty. It's, we were just, I was just looking at the Mexico's laws, and I think theirs for CBD, something around like that, is 1%. So there, I mean, come on, at least work within 1%. Like do something a little more reasonable, make it easier on the farmers. Like
Right.
will 1% really make the world of difference? And then obviously this shouldn't be for kids unless like that's doctor recommended and like it's reviewed and everything like that. But there's so much pushback. So I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm really rooting for like the hemp industry, because we need those textiles. We need like something approachable for people that can't handle, you know, what we handle on the daily. Like, I'm fine with 30. I'm fine with 15.
Mhm.
Because it brings out some more cannabinoids, but yeah,
But it
yeah.
should still be where it's going to end up being processed. I mean, so what if it comes in at 15, 20%? If it's only being sent off to produce fiber, who gives two shits how hot it's testing? Do you know what I mean?
Uh.
It should be based on, okay, if you're going to turn it into distillate and extract the THC or extract the CBD, you can then just extract the CBD and not the THC, you know?
Yeah. And the thing is you're missing out on such good medicine too, because like say, all right, so that Pink Panther, the one that tested over was a 30-1. And the CBD on the analysis, the CBD was just over 11%. Well, you know, you do the math on 11%, well, it comes back at like fucking 0.36 something. So it's already over without even, you know, any other kind of outside influence. It was already over at the 30-1 with 11% CBD. But you're missing out on that medicine. I mean, because the higher the CBD is, it's kind of natural for that THC level. It kind of bump up a little bit as you go. So, I mean, you might have some that's like 18% CBD, but you know, it comes in at like 0.5. So you can't fucking use it. You know what I mean? And I mean, there's
I know,
different
that's what's so
chemical
ridiculous
ways.
about it. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's
it should be just treating it as a, you know, if you're treating it like another commodity product, like any other one of those, it would be being broken down and processed for its core components. So yeah, the bit that the THC bit goes off to the THC guys if it's, or it goes off, you know, it goes to a licensed processor who turns up, chops it down for you, and fucks off with it. You know, you don't process it at all yourself. I mean, that would be the sensible way of dealing with it. And then the processor has a license for dealing whatever it wants to do. I mean, a question which I might have just on, you know, I didn't want to take words out of your mouth on answering it, but like a question that came about, could you therefore take that plant now or those plants and then say, okay, well, my personal consumption then and consume it for yourself? Or is it the fact that you could take 4 of them or you're only allowed 4 plants? Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, if it's above 0.3, it is no longer considered hemp in the state or any state for that matter.
I was gonna say nationally, that's the case. If
Yeah,
it's above
federally,
0.3,
I mean, you've got to, because is it because it's done under license that, you know, these are all tagged and under license, that's why you now have to destroy them. It's not like you can go, all right, well, I won't use them commercially, but I'll take it for my own personal use consumption then.
I could do that if I didn't already have my 4 personal plants.
All right, okay. So even if you, okay, cool. All right, well, there you go.
Yeah,
Chances
because
of being
anything
double.
above 0.3 is no longer considered hemp. It's considered a recreational plant. So that would be my 4 legal plants for the state. And I'm not going to have that. So I'll just destroy it.
Not at 0.48%.
Not at 0.48. Sorry,
Yo,
man.
bro, I'm bringing you the fire.
Yeah.
This shit will get you fucking so straight you won't know what happened.
well, but
Cool to see it in at least composting. Like, come on, at least do something. Are they just burning it or a complete
you gotta burn it or
eradication?
bury it.
Burn or bury.
Okay,
Okay, so
and that's
I
on
mean,
me.
at
to
least with
do.
the berry, it's you're disturbing soil, but whatever, you're putting in carbon, and it's.
But he's gonna
it's
bury
that
it in
thing,
these
yeah.
neat little rolled up, wrapped up in
Corn
corn
husks,
cob
yeah.
husks. Yeah.
It counts as a burial.
If
That'd be a
someone just
CBD
comes
ride.
across,
And this is also, tell me, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Lefty, but this is your first time running hemp plants, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
These types,
I'm-
yeah, for sure. These, you know, like the real high CBD or whatever they call it, it's either type 1 or type 3. I don't remember which end is which, but yeah, where there's like no THC.
Well, I'm pretty certain that once, you know, especially because your state's new, you know, my state's still very, once a few of these crops come in and farmers do give feedback to the state, we may see some adjustment at the Department of Agriculture. We may see some, because I mean, this is all still just getting online. And typically how this stuff always goes is we get our foot in the door and then we work our way into something that's actually more practical.
Right.
So, you know, at least you got to start 3 varieties this year. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I definitely saw what works and what doesn't for my region too. I mean, these real big, heavy, thick buds, you know, more like, I guess you'd say more, I don't know, indica chunky style buds just don't do well here. Or like that area.
Definitely highlighting the difference. Yeah, and then you got like that big difference between indoor and outdoor is you certainly have to select plants that are for the environment, not for what you can reproduce in a box in a room that is static and controlled. Suddenly you really have to look at what is my genuine humidity range, what am I actually going to have to deal with here, what is the light cycle, because you can't really change that.
Right. Yeah.
That's when tracking dew point becomes super important, because again, you can't do anything about it. I mean, you can't control it, but you need to know, is there any preventative action I'm going to have to maybe take
Right.
to put some fans in, get some extra air movement, things like that you can try and do. And tracking the general weather becomes so much more of a thing all of a sudden compared to growing at home. Even though even in a grow room at home or a tent at home, what's happening outdoors is really impactful on what's happening indoors.
Yeah, I'll definitely be adding 6 to 8 oscillating fans in there next year, just to keep some more air movement. I mean, when them plants get that big, it just choke. I mean, there's a good flow in there from them exhaust fans moving from one end to the other, but you get all them plants in there holding all that up, and they get big and thick, and all them leaves down there, and you get to the other end, and there's like nothing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Shit.
Well, and Pete showed us those, those examples of even in a small space, how how those actual air molecules travel across the space, and how much that gets easily interrupted. But I guess this is really the cool part of being so early on in a lot of this stuff. We're still experimenting, and this is, to me, the kind of exciting part. Like I just had an experiment, that didn't work out, but I'm just as excited by it not working out as I guess I would be by it working out. Because that's the fun part of being this early on and stuff, is you're experimenting. So I bet you by like next year or the year after, you guys have all figured out what's going to work in your area. And I won't doubt if by then people aren't trading cuts and stuff of their hemp varieties of, oh yeah, man, this one's banging in this area. This one grows really well in the valley, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been online here for a few years, but, I don't know. It's kind of like a lot of the farmers are kind of just like their own guys. And it's a little bit different from the cannabis industry. And you can tell who's more like the cannabis guys and who's more like the hemp guys. I mean, it's all cannabis, but you definitely have guys who are more like, more the business kind of guys, and more the straight and narrow. And they're like really into the hemp for the hemp and, doing this, doing that. Then you got the guys that are growing the hemp because they couldn't grow fucking fields of fucking high THC cannabis yet. They're doing it, and doing it the right way, but they'd much rather be growing the other style plant.
Well, and maybe this is what we're always talking about, like what makes a craft market emerge. Maybe that's it, because you got one set of guys who are coming into it from a commercial mindset, who are used to doing corn and soy as agri crops, just as commodity crops. But then we've got people who are used to doing it as something that's a little, I don't know, taken more as personal expression rather than commodity. So this might get really interesting. We might see some really cool, like, handcrafted artisanal varieties of low THC or high CBD and stuff like that. Like maybe this will kind of blur the line between hemp and just CBD plants that still have all that flavor. And I don't know, it's kind of exciting, man.
Yeah. It is kind of cool, because I mean, like, a couple of them varieties of that hemp in there are just phenomenal. I mean, that one that tested over, that Pink Panther, is like dark purple, super frosty, smells like fruit straight bubble gum, real chunky buds. It's like, man, if you're to run this indoors, I bet you this thing would be awesome. But it had such a hard time outdoors here. And that's the thing you find out. I mean, as far as talking to other farmers, is what works and what doesn't for your region, I guess. That's probably where I should probably reach out and try and, talk to some of these local guys. As far as an outdoor market here, when the rec market gets going, good luck. Good luck. I don't see anybody growing outdoors around here for anything that's going to go either craft market or, definitely not large scale, but even on the craft market, it's just too tough to grow outdoors here. It's just.
What about if they went for, like, Is a glass house outdoor? I mean, it's outdoor growing in terms of, it's the sun and a little bit more exposed to the elements, just in that it's not a nice sealed indoor
Well,
building. But would
greenhouse is that nice
be,
middle ground,
Yeah,
right? I
it's,
mean, it's. But
because I mean,
yeah,
I know with yours at the
no,
moment, the problem is that, like, it's a polytunnel, it's a little bit more open to the elements than a structured big, like a glass house. I mean, I'm talking commercial glass houses.
yeah. I mean, if it was commercial, I mean, like, a big commercial outfit came in, I think they could do the glass house here and run it, totally throughout the year and do, total light depth and all that kind of good stuff. But anybody in the middle that doesn't have the kind of money they need to put into it, because I mean, if you're not running more than 1 or 2 greenhouses for a rec market, you're pissing in the wind. You're not doing anything really.
Guys,
Yeah.
You're
I,
putting
I
more.
have to say, I have to chip in. I don't think we want to use glass houses. I mean, you guys know the old saying, people with glass houses shouldn't get stoned.
So polycarbonate houses. Bouncy
Sorry.
glass.
I apologize to everybody in chat for that joke.
But no, just the amount of money that it would take to really have a greenhouse climatized and stuff the way you needed to be able to successfully run crops
Yeah.
throughout the year.
And
I
even
mean,
doing it indoor, I mean, that's the same thing. Yeah. I mean, you've got that problem with it's got to be, any way around, it's a big investment. It's either a big investment in the electricity for all the lighting, or it's a big investment in the glass infrastructure to put the greenhouse in.
which you
and
still got to light too, right?
there's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
sustainable greenhouses out there, like deep winter greenhouses where you can really get into using a lot less power, but you're still putting a lot of your investment on the front end by digging into there and creating enough insulation to create all that, the proper atmosphere that it needs. So yeah, no matter what, there's energy put in. But I mean, if anyone's interested, look up deep winter greenhouses. It's really interesting to see. I believe University of Minnesota has a couple good YouTube videos on there, and you just watch the most recent one. There's a talk on it. So yeah, I encourage everyone to look into that, whether you're a northern or a southern climate. It's good to know how to work with the different atmospheres.
And so she should, GMF, and so she should.
Yeah,
I see that who was it mentioning it? Cheddar Bob was saying that he's growing on East Coast, Appalachian region. Where is it? That's East Coast, isn't it?
well, it's the mountain range that runs from the northeast to the southeast.
Yeah, and he's talking about there about saying, getting regional strains.
Yeah.
You get that debate about. I'm just being picky about the debate, like strains, cultivar strains.
Really, what works best for my region are more like, in hemp, there's a lot of these cherry varieties. There's like cherry bourbon, cherry wine, cherry blossom, cherry this. And those are like more like sativa growing plants where they're like more branchy, more internodal spacing. They don't get real chunky buds. They just kind of get the long buds that, they get more longer colas, but not real big and thick. And I think that's more along the lines of what we need here. I know where Cheddar Bob's at too. So yeah, he definitely knows what weather can do to plants, especially in his area. So yeah, it's definitely a regional thing.
It sounds like that Pink Panther could
space.
be potential breeding stock though. That sounds like that could be worth, I mean, especially describing all the kind of flavor you were getting out of it. That sounds like it could be still potentially worth working with on either side.
Yeah. Indoors, it'd be amazing. I mean, indoors, if you keep fans on it, where you keep your environment intact, that it throws big, chunky, big buds, man. It's impressive. It really is. And you look at it and you're like, oh shit, it's all rotted.
Then we've got somebody, Elite GP. think that's how it is. Elite GP, spraying bacillus, something or another. I'm gonna butcher it because I've had too many beers or ciders and an outdoor pond today. Found some caterpillars. Yeah, there again, that's another whole
Yeah.
aspect of it is all the
yeah.
critters and that, yeah, everything under the sun.
Dealing with those
That
too.
that they turn up. Yep. Um,
Yeah, Bacillus thuringiensis. I'm concerned with its just overall widespread use and us not really improving on those genetics. Like eventually nature's gonna find its way around that too. So we need to
Yeah.
actively be, collecting samples from the field, bringing it back. And yeah, look it up. Like Trad Cotter shows you how to work with Bacillus thuringiensis, infect whatever is messing with your crop, go out into the field, bring that back in, and you can expand upon it. So don't just apply once and then keep applying without realizing like, hey, you're having an effect on how everything's being expressed. So yeah, I'll show you that part of the book, Lefty, once we're done with the show. It's pretty interesting because you're basically making a myco pesticide and you're tailoring it to your environment. So that's something more people should be looking more into. So yeah, I don't think he has it anywhere specifically on a paper, but he does show how to do it in one of his talks. Yeah, I'll see if what I can uncover. But yeah, it's a good one. It was definitely had me scratching my head and just like, well, how are people not this should be more widespread. And it's sad to see like there's some pressure to like stop Bacillus thuringiensis from other companies that want to go more of a chemical route, which is unfortunate. Like, why can't we use both or use the BT as the front? And then if we need extra, use pesticides very wisely and carefully, make sure you know what you're doing and you always use PPE. Even with the Bacillus thuringiensis, don't fucking breathe that shit in. Some people, they even put their amendments without fucking covering up. It's like watching some people apply amendments in my horticulture class. They were just like up in the air. I'm like, you could just put it on the surface, not like 75% in the air and just all coming. And I only knew because I was downwind and I'm looking up. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, it's sad to see people not giving a fuck. They're just like, oh, well, it needs to get done. Kind of a deal, kind of an attitude. And I get it, shit needs to get done, but at least be aware of what you're doing.
I worked in the golf business for, I don't know, 13, 14 years up until recent. And yeah, some of the stuff I saw, yeah, some people care, some people don't.
Well, that's just the thing. If like I could see not caring, but then you're like all the way upwind, and then everyone who's downwind of you, it's like, oh yeah, wonder why everyone's coughing and sneezing.
And you know who usually lives around golf courses, right? Old people.
Nah.
The easily affected.
I'll say here, I mean, not the last couple of years because our production's dropped, but especially living in farm country, if you're around, the corn and soybean fields, you can tell when they're spraying. You can taste it in the air, you can smell it in the air, especially when someone's doing hundreds and hundreds of acres, and you're anywhere near it. Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Oh, it's all drift and volatilization. You hit a certain temperature, man, all that stuff just vaporizes and just becomes part of the air. Yeah, chemicals are really nasty, man. I did a lot of stuff with chemicals, and there's a lot you don't know.
I'm kind of glad. I mean, no offense, and I guess it's not, but I'm really glad you're out of that industry. I had a friend
Yeah.
who's worked in lawn care and, in golf courses. I worked for a couple of different, I worked at, especially one big country club I worked at for a long time. And they, the golf course, we were literally the banquets paid for the golf course. And we would just get pissed because we could smell the crap they put on the golf course when we're cooking.
Yeah.
It's not right.
I did it all. Luckily, I came in a little bit later, so I didn't get the really, really nasty stuff. But yeah, I mean, I sprayed everything from insecticide to growth regulator to pre-emergence to fungicides for this, that, and the other. And yeah, dude, some of the stuff you'd spray was orange and some of it was clear and oily and white and stinky, or it just, yeah. Yeah, I'm glad to be done with it. And yes, yeah. It's like, don't breathe this. You might go home twitching. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Well,
What do I get paid now?
Yeah. Where's our mask? Oh,
I was
don't
just
worry
about
about
to
it.
say
Hold your
that
breath.
your health's not worth the job. Like
Right.
that's one problem is really your health isn't worth what, because I mean, just no one, they don't pay enough for your health.
Oh, we had full PPE, but I mean, after about 4
Oh, yeah,
hours
it's
in a
dangerous.
Tyvek suit and a respirator in Central Virginia in the middle of July, it's like, okay, I got to take off this thing. I can't breathe, and I'm like gonna pass out from sweating. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man. You just gotta be careful with anything. I mean, just use common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, most of it's common sense. I mean, I don't know. There's a reason why there's skull and crossbones on shit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, also too, training, but training can only go so far as to like the people are willing to listen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you were well trained, just like, like, hey, this is fucking dangerous. Like, this is why I need a face mask. This is why I need goggles. This is why I need a Tyvek suit. The Tyvek suit, if anything spills on me, it makes sure it all falls off. Yeah, man, it's unfortunate what farmers have to go through in general, just all the things they're exposed to and how much money are they getting in the end for it. And then on the front end, I get most of my food from a market.
Yeah.
Where
Let's
does
be
that
honest,
market
though.
get its produce?
Yeah, it's the way we do things here is a race to the bottom, right? So if you're talking the cheapest thing you can produce, yes, then typically people default to that level of agriculture where their idea is, okay, I'm operating on the slimmest margin possible, like corn and soy. So let's grow as much of it as we absolutely can because we're going to survive on bulk. I think if we can just change people's attitudes toward the things they're consuming, right? Instead of consuming the cheapest thing I can consume, let me try to find the best nutritional bang for my buck. Then that suddenly changes the mindset of what people can supply because people are no longer looking for the absolute cheapest product. They're hopefully looking for the most nutritious product or whatever. So I think that's part of getting people to drink better beer. It's part of getting people to try to eat better food. You're going to pay it at the grocery store or the doctor, take your pick.
I bet you Peter gets better food where he lives at than what we get where we live at.
Yes, because
If
they
we
have
get
better
it,
government
right.
rules. Yeah.
Well,
No, but the EU and Britain have much better government regulation of the chemicals that you can use. There's a lot of stuff we use here that you simply can't use. And I think there's some 11,000
Yep.
food products and additives that we use in this country that are banned by the EU and the UK. So, but we feel free to use them in our products.
Hey, you guys are allowed to get blue. Which one of the sweets that has the blue food coloring, which you're not allowed to over here.
Hey, speaking of over here and over there, I think you're allowed to come over here now, Pete.
Yeah, from October. Yeah, we can. Exactly.
Yeah, I think they lifted it.
No, precisely. You need to take a serious look at.
If you dare, come into the jungle, baby.
Yeah. Collect a few more shots on the way out and arrive fully.
Well, and I think this makes it makes, I guess, the upside we've talked about of this whole thing is it makes things like testing hopefully cheaper and more available to the masses for everything. Whether we're talking a COVID test or whether we're talking about getting your plant tested. Myself right now, I'm kind of on the hunt because I was going to do an experiment with one lab, but now I've decided that I need to do a better job and be more thorough. So now I'm going to find 3 labs to send the experiment to so I can get them all to do the same thing. So yeah, if anyone's got lab codes or suggestions for labs, right now I'm looking at SC or MRC. But if anybody's got suggestions for labs for, cannabinoid and terpene testings, hit me up on my IG. But, I think that's part of something that's got to become available to the everyday person, and it's got to be cheap. It can't be in the hundreds of dollars. It's got to be cheap so that people feel comfortable testing what they're going to consume.
Yeah.
I think the same thing would be nice, like just because of how we have little drug kits for, police to be able to roadside test something for whatever. I don't think that's a bad idea for food. We should sell swabs so that people can double check their food to make sure it still isn't covered in some pesticide or some shit.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm going to use the same lab that tested my hemp because I know they test high numbers.
There you go.
Like, yep, 38%, right where we should be.
250% THC.
Well, but this is one thing that led me, hearing these horror stories is what led me to change my little experiment from doing 8 different products to just doing 2, but sending it to multiple labs. It's going to cost me more. I can't get a bulk testing discount or any of that shit, but it seems like so many people have so much variability in their testing that it would be disingenuous just to take one person's test and really think that it's potentially accurate.
Well, that's it. And you also need to understand how they are, how they're doing the test. So do they do a range when they actually do it? Do they do like a range of readings? So they'll do like 5, 10 tests, and then they'll top and tail it. So they'll take the highest and the lowest, get rid of those, and then find the average of what's left behind and go, that's what it comes in at.
That's what they did with my hemp
or-
test.
Yeah. And then what you have is you need the 3 at least then, because you want to have a tiebreaker, because if 2 come back and go, they've got different results, well, which one is correct? And then the third one that matches either one of the 2, you go, well, that's obviously the right one. And if all 3 of them don't match, you go, well, I'll take the middle of the maximum and the minimum one. Go for that as being what it is.
Which is
Yeah,
what
they
I'm
took-
hoping for.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took 4 samples and averaged it is what they did with mine. 4 samples from each cultivar.
Yeah, and then they would have done, when they tested each of the 4, so they would take like 4 sites from each cultivar, or they took 4 different plants. They just took a sample from 4 different plants, and then what they would have also done with each one of those tests that they did, they would have run a batch of tests, not just one. And out of that batch of tests, they go get rid of the outlier ones and look at the ones in the middle, just to make sure that they're getting. That's if they're doing it properly. I mean, and that's why it's worth checking to see how they're actually doing their test. So that'll give you a greater degree of confidence in the result that you're getting from them.
Only thing I saw was that it ranged from 0.31 to 0.59, and that the average was 0.48, and they gave me 0.43 because they put plus or minus 0.05, just for testing discrepancies or whatever. So.
Yeah,
Well,
so
and this
that-
brings
that-
another
that's their
question,
normal
what's a
standard
sample?
deviation.
Yeah, what's a sample? I got, because you said they took 4 samples. It could really vary where they take it from, the size they take. I got one company that wants a 5-gram sample to test flower. I got another company that wants less than a gram sample to test flower. So that really makes me wonder, okay, what the heck is going on here?
They
Is it the top
wanted-
of the buds? Is it like,
So originally, when it came out, they were supposed to tape the apical bud, the top, dude. They were
Okay.
taking the tops, and the guy's like, we had people freaking flipping out on us. I was like, I bet. So they take they kind of take like the shoulders, like the top shoulders, like second or third branch down from say like that big apical bud. And but it's supposed to be 5 to 8 inches, and then they take one bud from each, from 4 different plants of that cultivar. But yeah, they took big buds, dude. They don't play.
see them out in the fields? Yeah, couple samples, extra sample, back pocket.
And that was originally what tripped me out about looking at getting these tests is, I'm looking, okay, prices, it seems like they all have to be fairly competitive. They can't, get crazy with that. But when it comes to their, sample sizing, that's where they seem to vary drastically.
Right. Well, I guess it depends on how many times you're sampling it. Like Pete said, are they running a sample once and calling it good? Are they running a sample 2 times, 3 times, and averaging that out and seeing if there's any big discrepancies? I guess it depends on how they're actually sampling it. Would be, I don't know, would explain how much they actually needed.
Well, I think I know what phone call I'm making Monday. We get everyone's protocols.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'd like to find a third lab though. So far, like I said, I have 2 of them, but I'd like to find a third one just to have, like Pete said, that way, at least if, I can have some idea if 2 of them match up, that might be a better idea.
Yeah,
Me-
you can start to see discrepancies in the lab results too. Like, is this really a 38%? Or is it more like 28%?
Well, and that's the other thing. I'm not
And that's an
testing.
interesting one. I
I'm
mean,
not- I don't-
38% of what? What is the? And that's the other bit. Hey, Magma, by the way, sorry, buddy, I haven't said hi. You jumped in. But when they talk
Magma.
about
Hey.
Hey,
seeing something here with 48%, as an example. But I mean, you realize, like nearly half of the material you sent them is THC. You'd kind of see it. Do you know what I mean? It's like so when they say it's 38% THC or whatever the point percentage is, it's of what? Yeah, I mean, of what is that a percentage of? Is it of 1 gram of plant material? Is it of 1 gram of, taken from 1 gram, we got this much extract, and that much extract broke down into the components of it with this, but you only got 0.1 of a gram of extract on this one, but this other one we've got 1 gram of extract or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? It's that, what is the measurement of the percentage being done against? What is that's what I can't figure out. I mean, you couldn't. I mean, to have something that's 30% means you almost a third of the material is THC. It's kind of like, whoa.
That's what it's supposed to be, a third by weight. Yeah. So, well, and let me ask, I guess this is appropriate, Magma, welcome. And you're probably someone who might know more about this than the rest of us.
What's
I heard
testing
a
like
bit
over
about there's some gas chromatographies, and I think that's like the most interesting, where they can do like a full analysis, and I guess it depends on what kind of like they have these standards that they use. So it depends how well the standard is applied, I guess, and how their SOPs are being used, like how stable their results are in comparison to the standard they're using. And like it's I think it's more interesting to understand why people are looking for why are they looking for everything they're looking for, and what's being tested for, and what's the possible goal of all that. Like, is it to say that this one is really strong in THC, or is it to understand what these numbers mean and to put that into like some kind of logic?
Well, and that's, I guess, one reason I'm doing it is I'm trying to compare 2 samples, one that's been fermented, one that's not. I really don't care what the numbers are themselves. I care what the difference is in them, which is, I'm sure, how most people are not using these tests.
And then for what you're doing, though, yours is completely different as well, because you've got you have a drink product, let's say, that's 100 mils. I can now tell you 150 milliliters, whatever it is, 250 milliliters. I can tell you what percentage of the 250 milliliters is THC, and it's not going to be 30%. It's going to be a very small number.
And that's why they charge a lot more for edibles. To get edibles tested and to get liquids like that tested, I'm looking at paying a lot more than just a standard flower test.
But it's more consistent. I mean, in terms of being able to do it, you know what I mean? It's like the problem with the plant
But this-
mature running at 30%. I find that really difficult to.
But the
Wrap my
cost
head
from
around
like a regulatory view, like what's the purpose of it? Is it because they are afraid that people will get like some kind of crazy reaction on high THC? So they want it to be as low as possible, because that seems like it's like the leading agenda to try to get like the dose as low as possible. And I'm not really sure if I agree with that as being something good.
So that's what you're seeing, is that they're trying to keep the dose. Okay, yeah. And dumb question again, do you actually get any of your stuff tested, Magma, or is this something you're looking at? Or
I'm looking at it, but I'm not doing it now. No.
okay, same boat I am. All right.
Is
Yeah,
that
and
because
like,
of
I think-
labs? Like,
Yeah, no,
what's
I think
your
it's
reason?
I think it's like if I show you a card with THC and terp analysis, you know, it's not really going to tell you what that mix together makes up, you know. So I think it's more interesting what the mix brings out that you find interesting, rather than just like the numbers being super interesting, because like there's plenty of strains that are really strong in one direction that I don't really find that favorable. So I guess I don't feel like locking myself into this category where I'm chasing after a number. I'd rather be chasing an experience, but and to have that experience being repeated, I guess. But yeah, no,
It's
it
a-
just
it's a
seems
good
like
point.
it seems like I smoke a lot, so like what I smoke, I feel like I get like a relation with it, almost like how it smokes for you and how it doesn't. So like some stuff just has different things to it that you really pick up and you notice. And
So in that case, are you testing in a way with actual people? You'll be like, hey, try this. Don't, you don't give them the name. You're just like, just try it and tell me your first initial reaction, and then an hour reaction later, like whatever your parameters are, since you are
No.
doing it off of like that and not just your own tastes and experiences, but you're also kind of, are you making a variation?
no, I don't. Like most of my friends smoke very little. They smoke like maybe a joint in the morning and maybe in the evening, or maybe not even in the day, you know, maybe in the evening. So I don't think it's fair to compare really, because like I wanted to, like, I like it when I share it, and most of the time it has a really strong effect and destroys people, and that's kind of what I'm aiming for. But
Okay, so
I
based
don't, I
off
don't
that,
really.
you're testing yourself because you're constantly getting cannabinoids in your system, and you're just like, okay, if this affects me, like impacts me really well on your own, based on your own standards, you can say, oh yeah, I'll let this go. We'll see where this leads to in a year or two, when you breed it into whatever else you want to.
Yeah, no, I kind of base it on what I've seen, what I've grown, and like when stuff stands out. I think it's easy to see, you know, but it becomes easier when you compare it to others. And for me, it can be like a visual experience, but most of the time it's like a combination of the visual experience and that effect that you were hoping for comes out, like, or at least like yeah, I think the effect really is like top. If the effect isn't there, I'm not gonna be like very interested in doing anything with it anyway. I might try to put something into it to get the effect. If the terps are really like you want to smoke it all the time, you know, but you can smoke after a few days, it don't hit that hard.
Yeah,
So-
I've been finding that with the newer, everything being bred a little less weak, like more higher THC it seems, and then more for like candy flavor, but then you find yourself 30 minutes, 45 minutes later, like, huh, I could use a little pick me up while you get a haze or something, older genetics, you're like, okay, I'm good for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Just gonna sit here and enjoy this.
Yeah, and I
had some-
heard that too. That from Sam Skunkman, he was saying that I think there was a Alaskan Thunderfuck or Matanuska Thunderfuck or something like that had like 30% THC, but it was some of the 21 to 25 or to like 19 THC varieties that were the strongest effect because they had a higher level of terpenes and other flavor components. You know, so I think it's very individual too. You know, like what it's similar to anything. You know, food and drinks or anything. People have their own taste. So, like, I think there's a certain base. Like, you can taste a lot of stuff that is supposed to be good, and like you'll recognize that it's good, but it might not be like your favorite. You know. So as long as that's factored in, and I think that's kind of mattered the most.
And how have you been getting on with the neighboring volcano, dude?
I can start to see it more and more every day.
Yeah, have you been impacted by any of the? I haven't watched too much of it. I've just seen some pictures of what looks like a bit of a disaster happening.
Yeah, no, we could smell like sulfur in the air yesterday.
Oh,
That's what I've been reading. A lot of sulfur dioxide being released right now.
Yeah.
So does that mean no powdery mildew this year? You know.
Yeah. From the sound of it, yeah.
My
You get the
IPM
bleed.
is the neighboring island blowing itself up. It's how I do my IPM.
Yeah, and they don't really know how it's gonna go, you know. They just have like a bunch of really eager geologists. And they're
Yeah,
like,
it's a once in a lifetime
there's
thing
more
for
stuff
them.
happening. Yeah, no, they're super excited. But it's kind of going out of control. So there's like, oh, there's 5 new openings today, and there's 7 new openings today, and more houses are getting eaten.
well, not
Wow.
just hard to control, hard to predict.
Yeah,
Like-
no, they don't know at all what's gonna happen. You know, they don't really have the data to foresee anything. So some people saying the whole island split in two.
Yeah.
I mean, it could well
So we'll
happen.
see. Yeah.
Mm.
Stay safe,
Yeah, no,
man.
it's really strange. It's really strange.
Are you just staying indoors and making sure, like, trying to stay? How are you combating this? What are
No,
the
I'm not
changes for
doing
you?
it. I'm
No
not doing
changes,
anything. I'm
just
different. No.
Keeping an eye on, that part, and it just, if you see stacks, a little more concerning.
Yeah, no, it hasn't really affected me that hard yet. So I'm
Okay,
I'm happy
well,
about
glad to
that.
hear you're
but
safe.
Yeah.
You got a
Thanks.
bug out bag?
So there's different islands happening on a different island. That's
Yeah, no,
Right.
it hasn't started to explode on my island yet. So we'll hope
Mm.
that.
No,
stays
wait,
like
you
that.
say yet. Is it expected? Because I mean, obviously the system's connected, but is it expected that you're gonna have an eruption?
Not at this moment.
Good.
So
I'm
we'll
gonna
see.
head, man. I'm gonna worry.
You don't sound too confident, Magma. He's like, not at this moment.
the geologists say we're okay.
Yeah, no, it's like I feel like it's one of those things that it's hard to predict what's gonna happen. It's like a big force of nature. So I'm not surprised by anything. But at the speed it was going in the beginning, it's not like unless it pops up like on my property, I should have time to get away.
Hmm.
Are you
That's
prepped?
one thing
Do
about
you
that
have
stuff. It's like it's the ever moving. It just keeps coming. I mean, you know, you've seen that footage you see from Hawaii where you just watch it just go through, and anything in the way, it's just, well, hey, it just slowly gets the thing of those cars being overrun with the parked vehicles just being overrun with the lava, and it's just melted cars goes past.
Or watching the lava
Amazing to
flop
watch.
into the pool and solidify.
Yeah, no, it's really crazy.
Dave Martin saying practice poses if it turns out like Pompeii. Grab the bomb.
Yeah, that's
It's gonna look a bit sketchy
join or
though.
bomb? Yeah.
That's all these people like trying to give head at the last second. What the fuck was going on here?
Yeah,
yeah, no,
it's,
it's really crazy.
yeah, you got
Ah.
any, you prepped and ready to go? You got a backpack or a duffel bag ready just in
No,
case?
no, not really. No, not really.
Hmm. Well, be careful, man. Make sure you're ready for whatever comes.
Because it's just drive from the
Yeah.
beach. Keep going.
Yeah, no, I'm like on the closest part of the island to where it's at, so I need to just drive to the other side. I think if something happens, then get on a boat.
Sure,
I'm glad at least that you have, you know, that sounds weird, but at least you have water all around. You have some
Yeah.
potential for safety. So
Oh yeah, no, it's at the moment is far away. It's I think it's just going to be like air pollution, but it just started on Sunday, I think. So depends how long it's going to last. You know how bad it's going to be.
have you had anything falling on your plants yet?
No, not yet.
But you expect it, I'm assuming.
I don't know. You know, like in the beginning, there was like this small mushroom cloud that you could
Okay.
see, and
Oh, but now, okay.
and now it's kind of getting bigger and more visible, and I can see it in the daytime also. So I don't know. It's hard to say, you know.
Well, I admit, even my dog's worried about you.
Uh,
It
Yeah,
hasn't
man.
blown completely yet.
I would be concerned about ashes for sure. I know California had a big issue with the ashes, not from a volcano, but just forest fire. So yeah,
Yeah, no,
Yeah, if you got-
they stopped planes on that island today because the whole field was like black with powder everywhere.
Quite. Then again, just it being not too far from an airport here, man. Yeah, it's all picked up again. Like other night, it was. Ah, damn it! Peace and quiet is over. Well, on that note, I tell you what. Yeah, that's the end of the hour. We're not doing an after show hangout this week, unfortunately. So, yeah.
He's a busy man.
Thank you everybody for jumping in and joining on, and thank you everybody in chat for joining us and taking part in the various little polls that we had going along. It was interesting. A team one that came up though was that we need a different classification for indica sativa. Time for a
Can I throw one last poll out there? What if we classify it into long flowering and short flowering? So we just say 10 weeks or less or 10 weeks or more. And now we just leave it at that. We don't care about what the leaf looks like. We don't care about what any of the morphology is. We just classify it into 10 weeks or more or 10 weeks or less.
Yeah. Sounds like a good idea. We'll take a vote next week. Bingo.
All right.
But yes, where can everybody find you, GMF?
Oh, hit me up on IG, Genetic Memory Farms. Like I said, if anyone's got lab suggestions or coupon codes, hit me up. I need at least one more. And yeah, I'm usually in the garden or in the kitchen. And as for you, well, in Operation Grow, obviously, thank you, Pete, for making a place for us to get bumpy brains and, over on the neighborhood on Mondays, and over potentially on the Grow 4 show on Tuesdays. Shout out to our man Shoob and Cuz. Or even once in a while hanging out over at Grow Room 420. Shout out to our friends GMO and Kino. So yeah, just bopping around. If anybody needs anything, holler at me, man. And yeah, if anybody has lab input, I'd love to hear it. So thanks, guys. Genetic Memory Farms on IG.
Cool,
He
cool,
makes
cool.
really, really good kombucha recipes for you if you need help.
Oh, there we
Thanks,
go.
Magma.
An endorsement.
We need at least one kombucha video of like just you so people can have something to reference. Yeah, I know you did Eagles too. So if people want to
we can
check
make
out
one.
that recipe. Yeah,
Yeah, we can make one. I'm about to
That'd be
do a
cool.
bunch of infused ones, so I guess I could film it.
Perfect. Yeah, you're ready to have everything set up.
Yeah, super good idea.
Where can everybody find you, Raptor?
I'm a Raptor Grow. You can find me on Instagram and you can find me on YouTube as well. Operation Grow, same time, same place. Was a little late, just grabbing some coffee. Yeah, you could also find me on the Neighborhood Grow Show at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 Eastern, and 12 a.m. UK time. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us once again. And Lefty, sir, where can everybody find you, buddy?
You can find me at Lefty's Farm on Instagram and Cannabis. You can also find mine and other seeds at the Simple Seed Co.
Oh, yes, yes.
You will also be able to find me November 6th and 7th at the Kind Cup, which will be located in Concord, Virginia. So any local Virginians out there that are interested, hit me up. Should be a good time.
You're going to be
Sounds
judging
good.
or you're entering?
I'm going to be judging, so I probably will not be entering. But yeah, I've been wrangled into the judging aspect, so I probably, I won't be entering anything.
How tough. Somebody twisted the rubber arm on the ball socket. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a bummer because I got a couple of interesting things here floating around too. So, but that's all right. So,
Somebody else to enter under their name, but then you have the.
there you go. I don't care. I want the
Get your
glory
wife to enter it.
out
There you
there. Yeah.
There's
yourself,
always a high
Matt?
times cup.
Yeah. Where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me here or on Instagram. And I'm hanging around sometimes when I'm not working too much.
Good man, good man. And you can find me at Operation Grow 2019 on Instagram or at Peel Grow Systems on Instagram. And you will catch us lightly next week. Trying to think, it may be a pre-recorded show next week. It may be live. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, catch everybody later. Thank you very much, and stay